Major funding for this remastered episode of Telehell is provided by Dave's Archives. At Dave's Archives, he personally transfers, archives, and preserves classic commercials from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s and shares them with you. Don't forget about his Friday night live stream on, well, guess when? Go to davesarchives.com. By Studio 3, celebrating the strange and nostalgic side of television. It's retro, rough, and proudly offbeat. The kind of lineup you'd stumble across flipping through channels after midnight. Check them out on YouTube at Studio 3 Digital. And be sure you spell out 3, don't use the number 3. By Kier's Nostalgia Corner, a collection of commercial compilations, retro nostalgic things, and other random things that come to mind. Look for her on YouTube at KIERS Nostalgia Corner, and don't forget to check out her live streams early in the week. By Kev the Ripper on YouTube. You thought he was gone for good, didn't you? But he's back. He lives to rip another day, and now you can find him on YouTube still, but this time at KEVRIPZZZ. Just add 2 Z's to his previous handle and you'll find him. And by the very generous benefactors who grace us on our Patreon at patreon.com/telehellpodcast, including Rhonda Farrell, Brian Hennigar, Rick Kalacki Jr., Chris Michaud, Meredith Morrissey, Rabbite, Spare Parts, and Neil Weinstein. Thank you. You know, the more I think about it, the more I realize we probably should have called this mini-series Telehell Re-Recorded instead of Remastered. Yes, folks, the audio was too messed up to actually do anything cleanly with it, so here we go again with this episode that originally aired on May 3rd of 2020.
I think research was a tool. You know, and I looked at the research as much as anybody else, and it's a very big but. You also have got to go by your own convictions and your own passions about things. You know, program testing can't tell you what the next hit is going to be if it's brand new because there are no norms to compare it to. I think what you do is you take a look at the testing and you very carefully evaluate what the testing says. And you say, can it be fixed? Is it terminal? Can a piece of a casting make the difference? Can a change in emphasis make the difference? And again, it becomes one of several different factors that ends up determining what goes on the air.
It's time, once again, to hear about one of the many nightmarish failures of our Patron Saint. It's one of the many televised follies perpetrated by Fred Silverman for induction in Telehell.
What year would you consider to be the worst year in the history of television? Some would argue it was the 1973-74 season where practically 99% of new programs that debuted that year wound up getting canceled before the season ended, while the well-established hits reigned supreme. And if you heard our 5th minisode, this was also the year that brought us the contrived award show gimmick known as the Super Emmy. So to that respect, that could be considered the worst year in television simply by scale of cancellations and decreased viewership. Then again, really take a look at some of the one-season wonders that made its way to the small screen that year. Despite their failures, a lot of them have gone on to become beloved cult favorites that somehow found their way to digital retro TV channels for various weekend offerings. And to that end, even being declared a cult favorite is at least some level of success. Now, if you want to talk about shows that were canceled not just because the ratings were low, but because the audience watching flat out rejected them, then come with me to the year 1983, the year NBC pitched a literal no-hitter.
You can be anything you want to be there.
You can see anything you want to see there.
In spite of the fact that the Peacock was well on its way up the comeback trail after years of missteps, their 1983-84 season was infamous for the fact that every single new offering that they had that year came and went in the blink of an eye. possibly CBS's eye because of their seemingly never-ending dominance as the #1 network at that time, and NBC's misfortune of trying to counter-program them on their most-watched nights of the week. A total of 9 shows debuted that year. Some of them lasted for a half a season, others lasted for half a month, while only a few managed to make it an entire season before ultimately getting the axe. And while we hope to take a more in-depth look at all of NBC's failures of '83 at some point, the show we're highlighting today turned out to be one of the luckier ones of that year.
How do 2 bachelors who live with a beautiful maid
Make sure nothing improper happens.
Well, we sat down like 3 mature adults and came up with a perfectly reasonable solution. Join us for the season premiere of We Got It Made.
And now, this is Telehell.
Remastered.
This story begins with the careers of 2 successful comedy writers, the sibling duo of Gordon and Lynn Farr, no relation to Corporal Klinger of MASH fame. Between the 2 of them, they wrote for some of the biggest hits of the 70s, including Love American Style, The Bob Newhart Show, and yes, even
The Love Boat.
Strange, that seems to be popping up a lot in my reviews lately for some reason. Anyway, with all those years of success in both writing and producing for TV, NBC, which by that time was being run by programming icon Brandon Tartikoff, decided to take a chance on the duo and an idea of theirs that had been simmering for some time. The idea of a young, buxom 20-something who moves to New York City to fulfill her dreams. Of what, we never really know, but while on her way to fulfilling those dreams, she takes a job becoming a live-in maid at the apartment of 2 swingin' bachelors. One a clean yuppie, and the other is a bit of a slob. And right about now, I know what you're thinking. Where have I heard some of this before? You're right to think that there may be more than a couple of liberties taken with this idea. The notion of a yuppie slob combo living together, for instance. Of course, that's the obvious copycat that we see here. The other obvious one lies in the fact that a total stranger who's new in town is looking for a place to live, much to the hesitation of the potential roommates that she's willing to move in with. Were it not for the gender swap, where have I heard that before?
Come and knock on our door.
Come and knock on our door.
We've been waiting for you.
We've been waiting for you.
Where the kisses are hers and his. Three's company too.
We're only going over the concept of the show, and not even near pushing the play button or finding out who's in the show. And already we have 2 violations of premeditated ripoffs, especially one that, as of 1983, was in its final season. So perhaps the people behind this show were ready to pluck that carcass clean. Then again, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves here. After all, imitation is a sincere form of flattery, and hopefully the Farr duo come up with something that they can make into their own. And in the spirit of not judging a book by its cover, let's take a look at the cast. First, we've got our maid, as in the one we got it in the title of the show. Her name is Mickey, and she's played by relative showbiz newcomer and future ex-wife to emergency Dukes of Hazzard cousin Vance, Terry Copley. And at the risk of saying something highly disparaging against someone who I'm certain was good at what she did, her acting range went a specific way. And I'll leave it to you to figure out what that is.
You 2 have a little quarrel?
Well, not a quarrel, more like a spat. Well, actually a tiff. A tiff is half the size of a quarrel, and a quarrel is 4 times the size of a tiff, unless you go metric.
The other reason why I don't want to be too disparaging is because, as I found out through research, a few years ago, Copley wound up switching to the other team. No, not that other team. One of, shall we say, biblical proportions.
And I got on my knees in the hotel room and I said, Lord, you've given me this life and I've made a mess of it. Please take it back and please just let me serve you. The love I felt from Jesus just consumed me.
Jesus Christ! No, literally, she became a born-again Christian in the 90s and hasn't looked back since. But hopefully this doesn't affect our overall thoughts on the subject at hand. The rest of the cast featured up-and-coming actors Matt McCoy and Tom Villard as the show's pseudo-Oscar and Felix, yuppie lawyer Dave and messy salesman Jay, respectively. Rounding out the cast were the Gentleman's Girlfriends, played by Bonnie Urseth, and future co-star of the long-running cop classic Hunter, Stephanie Kramer. With all of these elements in place, all that was left was a company and an executive producer willing to put it together. Fortunately, the farce caught a break when MGM, yes, that MGM, decided to take a chance on the show by being its distributor. And its production company was yet another up-and-comer in the business at that time, that of the Intermedia Entertainment Group, helmed by its founder, Mr. Oh, crap. Yes, folks, this program is yet another in the long line of hits or misses that has the fingerprints of our charter patron saint of Telehell, the late Fred Silverman. As a matter of fact, this was one of the first shows that his newfound production company developed once he was given the heave-ho by NBC, who, as a reminder in this story, was well on its way to making a comeback after years of making mistakes that were made on his watch. And now, they were going to tempt fate again. Which to me sounds like it's trying to reward someone who just quit smoking cigarettes with a full tin of chaw. Look, we don't want to keep taking a dump on the guy, especially in the condition that he's in now, but the fact that he's become synonymous with television infamy is pretty unavoidable at this point, and we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't highlight the lowlights. Nevertheless, NBC decided to take a chance with the man with the golden gut one more time for old time's sake. The show, now officially titled We Got It Made, would premiere in NBC's 1983-84 season. And we'll see how this maid cleans up
After the break.
I don't know how much money you spend on household cleaning products in a year, but if you get Poof, you can forget about all the rest. Poof, like in Poof, it's gone. Go ahead, you clean houses for a living. Tell them what Poof has done for you.
I used to have a whole tray full of stuff. Then somebody told me about Poof. Now Poof's all I use, Poof's all I need.
You, sir, tell us what Poof did for your carpet stains.
I tried everything on these carpet stains. Nothing seemed to work. All of the products from the supermarkets, even the professionals couldn't clean it. Then somebody told me about Poof. I tried it, and it really worked great.
You want clean windows with no streaks? Glasses and silverware with no spots? Grease spots out of your garage? And you get a 6-month supply. Nope, you can't get Poof in stores. You can only get it with a free phone call. Poof, it's either this or this. The spray-away cleaner that cleans everywhere. Call now. Poof, and it's gone.
This week on Telehell's premium content of The Damned.
You guys never had any girlfriends in there at all, did you? Huh? You were 4 grown men in that. You never had any girlfriends. You're out on that ranch all by yourself. I'm not intimating.
A lot of rumors about that. There were a lot of rumors about the Cartwrights being homosexual. There were a great deal.
I didn't mean that. I wasn't.
And I am here to set the record straight. We were not. Thank God Hop Singh was, but...
I'll set him up. You do the snappers.
The only way to listen to Telehell's premium content of The Damned is by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Telehell podcast. For just a few bucks a month, you can listen to our premium content and get some swag along the way. Once again, that's patreon.com/Telehell podcast. And now, back to this week's torture.
September 8th, 1983. Video arcades welcome the challenge of Sinistar.
Beware, coward. Run, coward. I hunger.
Michael Sembello's Maniac was well on its way to becoming a one-hit wonder. And at 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central, Fred Silverman's first independent TV production hit the airwaves in the most earwormy way possible. Still not as annoying as the theme to Quark, this song ranks right up there as another one of the most annoying TV themes that we've heard around here. However, there is one thing that makes this theme slightly more tolerable, and is arguably the reason why the show lasted as long as it did. Opening on a tight shot of a t-shirt, specifically Terry and her Copley's clinging closely in thin pink fabric. Yes, I know that's a pretty chauvinistic thing to think, but prove me wrong that sex sells. Chances are that title sequence was probably the show's highest rated minute week after week. Unfortunately, the ratings would take a nosedive as soon as we got into the actual show's content. I should also apologize in advance for the constant chirping and muddy audio that you'll hear in the background from here on out, because when all you have in hell is a VHS with no head cleaner, you gotta make do with what you've got. We begin with our yuppie lawyer trying to rehearse for an upcoming case.
Your Honor, my client's a man of excellent character. He's a family man, a veteran, a churchgoer. And let us not lose sight of the fact, this is only his first murder.
Meanwhile, our messy salesman is pitching one of what I'm sure will be many items to hit the Sharper image catalog never.
This is the big one.
All right, what is it this time?
I've imported 5,000 musical toilet seats that play Here Comes the Bride.
You are kidding.
You wait. You'll be humming that tune every morning.
Oscar and Felix, they are not. Which leads us to the overall crux of the show.
We don't need a housekeeper. Jay.
It looks like a garbage truck exploded in here. So you have to start cleaning up this mess around here.
I can't concern myself with picayune details. I'm an ideas man. Ideal in ideas. I have to be able to soar like an eagle, swoop like a hawk,
wallow like a pig.
And one thing I'm going to give this show credit for is the fact that they established what one of the many goals were within the first 2 minutes. So, at the very least, we're getting to the point right away. A point that is further punctuated by the arrival of our two girlfriends.
Hey, did anybody answer your ad?
No, not so far.
You better clean up the apartment.
You know, you could at least do your dishes.
You can't afford a live-in maid.
Okay, it's going to save us money. See, I spend a fortune taking clients to restaurants.
Yeah, and every time you import something, you entertain buyers.
Yeah, but...
So we hire some nice middle-aged lady to cook and clean.
You bring the people here and entertain them.
Right.
Bingo. Bigger orders, more clients. Success. Travel.
Fast cars,
loose women.
Look why you're ahead.
And again, props to the show for making the main goal known without having the viewer be baited on for something to happen. While 3/4 of the cast can agree that a housekeeper would be a good idea, Messy J is bizarrely anti-maid for some reason.
Don't you see what's going to happen? We'll lose our individuality. We'll lose our freedom. We'll lose our God-given rights. What? Who needs some old biddy shuffling around here smelling like tuna fish and absorbing Junior?
And as sure as the declaration was made, who should show up but our tightly dressed star of the show?
Yes!
Hi, are you still looking for a housekeeper?
Mr. Yuppie then tries to be the voice of reason.
Mickey, what other kind of work have you done?
Well, I've been a dancer.
Perfecto, dusting and dancing.
I work with Master.
Wow! She can tell us where to sit. What a wonderful sense of humor.
Mickey, I'm afraid we can only pay $75 a week.
All right, 150.
Okay, mini tangent for a second, please. Ignoring the inexperience of our potential maid, they say they can't afford a housekeeper even though they
clearly established
that they, a young lawyer and a salesman with girlfriends,
in a New York City, Midtown Manhattan apartment, no less,
said that they were looking for a housekeeper. Congratulations, show. You just negated yourself within the first 5 minutes. And you haven't even gotten into hijinks and shenanigans yet. Hell, maybe the title of the show is more of a declaration of financial solvency than we thought, because the maid in We Got It Made is spelled M-A-D-E, not M-A-I-D. Moving on, we get a little more insight as to why Mickey's even here in the first place.
Mickey, why did you come to New York?
I lost my job. And my personal life's been kind of a mess. My boyfriend ran off with another woman.
Oh, well, that happens.
He ran off with my mother.
But, Mickey, why a housekeeper?
Because it's good, honest work. And I enjoy helping people. Because I have a home.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to another term for your show business glossary. A little something called flexible reality. Flexible reality is what happens when one writes a TV show and is willing to bend, shape, or form what happens in the real world to whatever version of it they wish to have. Whether it be the cast of Friends living in 2 giant apartments with obscene exceptions to rent control laws, or someone who gets a platinum credit card, goes overboard on the spending, and is somehow debt-free by the end of the episode, or the ability to drive cross town in a major metropolitan area with an inhumanly short time limit. Or in the case of this show, the boys are not only taking pity on Mickey, but also taking her in as their live-in maid. With no experience. In New York City. With 2 guys. Total strangers who have girlfriends.
Who I'm sure are going to take this news very, very well.
You couldn't find a more unrealistic scenario in a Craigslist ad. But take pity on her, they do.
Look, she doesn't know a soul. She's alone in the jungle of New York. Never mind you and me and our petty concerns. If we can make but one person a little happier, we'll have made the world a better place for all mankind.
Thank you, Alan Alda.
It was a baby. She smothered her own baby.
Speaking of the girlfriends, we see how they react as Stephanie Kramer pretends that she's eyeing her future contract for her next show in the distance.
Beth, Claudia, this is Mickey.
Bye.
Naturally, the girls are skeptical that the boys would allow such a form-fitting wild card into their lives. But for the sake of flexible reality, maybe this can be discussed like rational adults.
So silly. Wait till you get to know her. She's really great, really.
David, I'm fine. Look, I've had my little tantrum, but I'm all right now. Really. See? See? Happy. So happy.
Or maybe the levels of jealousy will reach soap opera heights without actually giving the girl a chance first.
Beth, we've been going together how long now? 3, 4 months?
2 years.
Have I ever looked at another woman?
Yes.
Do you honestly think that someone like Mickey could come between you and me?
Yes.
No way. Hey, Mickey, sit down. You must be pooped.
So, as we begin Act 2, the girlfriends leave for a previous engagement while Yuppie and Messy stay behind to do some work, with everybody fully aware that a certified C-cup is now living under their roof.
I'll see you later. Work hard.
Believe me, work's the only thing on my mind.
Okay, bye, David.
Bye, Mickey. Joke. There's a joke. Mild form of humor.
Very mild.
As the boys are doing their work, Mickey, who is trying to take a bath, calls for their assistance.
Hey, can somebody help me? I forgot my shampoo.
I'll get it!
Jay, Seems okay from here.
But what-oh? The boys accidentally get locked in the bathroom with Mickey only wearing a towel.
Okay, what can we use in here to open a door with? Open a door. You got any tools on you? Doesn't make any sense, Dave.
And because this show isn't hackneyed or contrived enough, the three of them try to figure out how to get out of the locked bathroom, just as the girlfriends come back, which is a perfect place to add a manufactured suspenseful moan.
David?
Oh, God, it's the girl.
Oh, the show did that for me. Well, thanks, I guess. Anyway, the boys hem and haw their way out of the bathroom while Mickey sneaks out of the window. Back in the days when New York City apartments didn't seal their windows shut to prevent others from sitting on the ledges. But then again, flexible reality. More wild goose chasing occurs as Messy J goes back to the bathroom to see if Mickey is reenacting the Robert Hayes role in the movie Cat's Eye, which, it turns out, she does, as she sees them scaling the windows of the apartment trying to get back in without the girls finding out.
I don't even know where to send flowers. Do we send them to us?
And for the sake of this being a podcast, I wish I could describe the next few minutes for you without having to schedule a full frontal lobotomy. But we will put this up as a brand new trailer for this episode on our YouTube page, so hopefully this description gives it justice. As the show goes through a series of hoop jumps to try to convince us that what we're watching is actually funny. Everything from one of the guys thinking that she's fallen off the building, to the constant and sometimes embarrassing distracting of the girlfriends, to Mickey's towel getting blown away, to that same nude Mickey trying to sneak back into the apartment while one of the girlfriends delivers a lengthy monologue. Just about every variation you could think of involving these aforementioned jokes have been used to death on
every sitcom ever made since the beginning of time.
Let alone The Odd Couple and Three's Company. But the difference between those shows and this one was that they were able to put some kind of original spin on things. Here, it just feels like something that was refrigerated and reheated for no other reason than to keep the mold from growing on the future specimen. Eventually, the frivolity comes to a merciful stop.
That's enough. Look, I've tried to be nice, I've tried to be understanding, I've tried to be nude, but I'm telling you right now that she's... Nude! Shower, and I forgot my shampoo, and the dumb knobs went round and round, and David was saying that was so nice to think. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
No, I stand corrected. It actually keeps going because we've got one other thing to rip off, and this one is more Three's Company-esque, i.e. the part where once everything blows up in everybody's faces, we get the assurance that it was all a big misunderstanding.
It looks like I've screwed up again, like I always do. I'll save you from having to fire me. I'll just be going.
Where will you go?
To my room. That's where my suitcase is.
We're not gonna let her quit.
Well, it's not like I want her to quit, Jay, but come on, you have to admit, since she got here,
I don't
things have been
believe you. This wasn't her fault. It's not like she's the only one who ever walked in from the balcony naked.
And were this not the bizarro world, this is usually the part of the show where things are about to wrap up.
I hope you're proud of yourself. You're the one who insisted we get a housekeeper, and she's great. You're right. And you told me you can't hire someone just because they're gorgeous. Well, you can't fire someone just because they're gorgeous either. Right. Don't interrupt. She needs this job, and she needs us. You're right. Don't give me that. Hey, forget your clever lawyer arguments. They're not going to work on this kid.
Mickey, we want you to stay.
Really?
Really?
No, I couldn't. Not unless both Claudia and Beth are happy.
Hey, it's our apartment. It's our life. It's our decision. It has nothing whatsoever to do with them. Dave, see if it's okay with the girls, will you?
And that point right there would have been the perfect time to roll the credits. Except, there's about 2 minutes left. And what happens in those final 2 minutes? Well, later that night, while Messy J is sleeping, Mickey enters his room wearing something sheer and dusting everything in the process, followed immediately by her unwittingly entering Jay's bed. Not only does it turn out that Mickey's a sleepwalker, but even more upsetting, this episode is slapped with 3 of the most dangerous words in the English language.
To be continued.
That's right, the first episode of the show was actually a 2-parter, meaning that we're only halfway done with our half-baked stupidity. I think I'm gonna need to get hydrated before we continue. Can I get a glass of water, please? Jeez! Oh, right, I have to keep reminding myself that I'm living in a place that's constantly engulfed in flames. Okay then, moving on to episode number 2. We should point out that this is the episode where, although we do get cleaner audio, we're gonna get hit with an incessant chirping sound throughout, so we'll try to keep this one as brief as we can. Act 1 of Show 2 starts right where we left off, with Mickey sleep dusting her way to Jay's bed with hilarious results.
Look, it's not your fault I'm a real hunk, but you made this bed, and so now you gotta... No, look, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cover my eyes and I'm gonna count to 3, and when I open them, you'll be gone, okay? Here we go, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay?
And while we have a moment to collect ourselves from holding our sides from having them get split with so much mirth, let's take a minute to recognize the work of the late Tom Villard, who, arguably and begrudgingly, is probably the only other part of the show, aside from Terry Copley's figure, that actually gives this show a saving grace. Yeah, he is playing dumb to the nth degree, and yes, he's sort of made a career out of playing similar roles, but the one thing I will say about him is that he's probably the only person in the cast who's actually giving it his all, no matter how stupid some of the dialogue may be. Sadly, as we just mentioned, Villard is a person who has ceased to be, as in 1994, just a few months after he became one of the very few actors at the time to come out to the LGBTQ+ community, Villard would pass away due to complications from AIDS. He was only 40 years old. Boy, this is gonna be an awkward transition now, isn't it? And again, if I've learned anything from our previous show about awkward uses of the laugh track...
Okay, let's try Roman numerals.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have been cool with this. Moving on, Jay bolts out of his room to alert the yuppie to what's going on through a series of spastic pantomimes. All the while, he's in the middle of a passionate embrace with the future Sergeant Dee Dee McCall. Eventually, she leaves so Jay can be a little more verbal. By the time the boys get to Jay's room, Mickey disappears once again, only to reappear in the yuppie's bed instead.
Oh boy! When I said she was in my bed, did anyone believe me? No. Now I suppose you expect me to believe that there's somebody in your bed.
Jay, she's in my bed.
Maybe, maybe not.
Through a series of Laurel and Hardy-esque routines, the boys pick up Mickey and return her to her bed,
with hilarious results.
While the next day, they try to figure out how to prevent this from happening again, aside from NBC rejecting the script in the first place.
Was I sleepwalking?
Yes, you were, but it's no big deal. You just wandered out of your room, you wandered down the hall.
You wandered into our bed.
Oh my God! What are you doing?
It's a game. Bobbing for muffins.
And while perfectly good muffins accidentally get dumped into a fish tank, one of the girlfriends tries to figure out what's going on.
Well? Now, spill your guts.
Okay, Mickey went to bed with me last night.
In a sane, rational world, a better way to have handled that is to simply say that Mickey has a sleepwalking problem and that she accidentally climbed into both men's beds. And if it were that same rational world, The girlfriend would probably understand the situation in a sane and logical manner. Unfortunately, we've got about 20 more minutes to film, and this show lives in a world that's full of more contrivances than a poorly acted movie of the week. So instead, we get this.
I was sleepwalking. I mean, I would never go near Jay's bed if I was in my right mind.
She's got a point.
Believe me, Beth, I would never do anything to hurt you.
I believe you, Mickey.
What was that for?
It just feels so good.
Now, with 18 minutes to go until this is over, the other non-Copleys get serious.
Would somebody who looks like Mickey have any problems?
What do you mean?
Well, anxiety and stress cause sleepwalking. I saw this TV special about an air traffic controller who couldn't handle the pressure, so he did all sorts of weird things in his sleep. And one night he walked all the way from Brooklyn to Kennedy Airport.
Did they cure him?
Well, they really didn't have a chance. A 747 landed on him.
Or at least as serious as a show that tries too hard to be wacky could get. But please, go on.
So, until Mickey copes with her stress,
She'll just keep walking around here in the middle of the night, getting into our beds in that teeny tiny nightie.
David, it's me!
Claudia!
Calm down. What's the worst thing that could happen?
She'll leave me and I'll die a lonely old man in a room full of cats.
Just then, the future Sergeant McCall checks in to attempt to get the plot moving in some sort of direction.
I'm telling myself, Claudia, this isn't you. You're a calm, reasonable person who trusts the man you love.
Oh, honey, that's great, because
And then I smashed the lamp again. I think there's only one way I can get over this crazy jealousy. Would it be okay if I stay here a couple of days?
okay, but I'm locking this baby in my room.
Act 2 of Show 2 starts with the gang staying awake all hours, and also doing their impression of the Dead String Quartet from Season 1 of SNL. How's that for a deep cut reference? After coming to, the gang tries to figure out a way to prevent Mickey from sleepwalking again.
You're wiped out. Go to bed.
But what if I sleepwalk?
We lock you in your room.
We jam a chair under the knob.
We nail the door closed.
But what if I have to powder my nose?
Powder your nose. Why? You're not going anywhere.
Just then, Hunter's soon-to-be sidekick comes in to send Mickey to bed as though she's about to go on a nature hike with Mickey as a human rucksack.
Don't go away.
Bedtime for Blondie.
Afterwards, the rest of the gang takes turns guarding Mickey.
Now let's look at this logically. Of course.
You guys are gonna fall down when you hear this. There's only one place you can be. In my room. With
All that's missing is the Benny Hill music, and somehow this will become an automatic masterpiece. The gang make a beeline for Stephanie Kramer's bedroom where, whoa!
David.
Mayday.
Don't panic.
And I'm sure this would have made a great comedy scene if I didn't see this done to death on many other sitcoms before. Using mathematics, I'd say this was about 45% Three's Company, 31% I Love Lucy, 23% Laverne and Shirley, and 6% Butterscotch Ripple.
That's 105%.
But I digress.
What's she doing sleeping in your closet? What is she, a bat?
She wasn't sleeping in his closet.
No way.
She was sleeping in his bed.
Oh. Thank you, Jay. Mickey is sleepwalking.
Again? Sleepwalking? What do you think, I'm an idiot?
Don't answer that, Dave. It's a trick question.
Okay, did I miss something? Or do we live in a world where people automatically jump to conclusions without using logic to figure things out rationally? I mean, sleepwalking is pretty common, and this whole thing might have been resolved a lot sooner if, say for instance, Mickey had some sort of doctor's note proving that she does that. But no, we have to milk the comedy drier than a cow that eats sand. Granted, I think the people on this show are willing to fly off the handle so quickly because if they did listen to reason, the show would be over in 7 minutes and NBC would have to put on infomercials to fill the time. But because the conflict seems manufactured, viewers would feel more compelled to change the channel. Audiences are not that stupid, especially for 1983 standards. Anyway, eventually things get sorted out the way you would expect a sitcom to be in the land of contrivance. And on that note, we launch into a somewhat lengthy monologue of why exactly Mickey walks in her sleep. The moment has no background music, but we're adding music to this moment because if it isn't evident in this scene, this is the moment where she's trying to win over not just Stephanie Kramer, but the viewers as well.
After my folks split up, I used to wake up every morning in my mother's bed. I thought it was magic. I thought that in the middle of the night, I flew through the air into her arms. Claudia, I'm scared. Of what? Of you.
Of me? Why me?
Because I love this job. I feel like I'm hanging by a thread and you're holding the scissors.
Mickey, you're not going to lose your job. I mean, this is the first time I've been able to walk across a living room without stepping in pizza.
I just don't want to mess up.
Mickey, we're all scared and we all mess up. Don't you see that? You, me, Jay, David, Beth, everyone.
Even President Reagan?
Wouldn't you be scared if every time you went swimming your shoulders turned orange?
And the 1984 Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series goes to Jane Curtin on Kate and Ellie, because no matter how hard Copley tries here, we ain't buying it. Eventually, Kramer comes around to Copley's plight, and she promises not to be suspicious while Mickey continues to work for the boys. Afterwards, Mickey finally goes to sleep, and we never have to worry about her sleepwalking problems ever again. And thanks Satan for that, because if the entire series was focused entirely on that one aspect of her life, the show would have been gone in less than a month. The rest of the series continues to recycle old sitcom tropes like Al Gore at a waste disposal unit until the program was ultimately canceled in the spring of 1984. So, where does this rookie cleaning lady get vacuumed up in Telehell? Put on your rubber dish gloves as we do a little dusting on the 9 circles. I said 9 circles. Hey, what gives? How come the circles aren't firing up? Why is there another tape going into the VCR? We're done, aren't we?
Home, come on home to NBC.
What the hell is this?
Got a fresh idea. Talking comedy.
Why am I seeing Terry Copley and Tom Ballard in this promo?
Primetime moves 7:30 at night.
Why am I seeing them performing together in the same promo?
We're gonna make you laugh. We're gonna bust your gut.
No. This can't be right.
Home, come on home to NBC.
Wikipedia, don't fail me now. Let's see. NBC prime time at 7:30. In the fall of 1987, NBC conceived a syndication package for its owned and operated stations under the brand Primetime Begins at 7:30. consisting of sitcoms that each aired once a week and were produced by various production companies contracted by NBC. The series included Marblehead Manor, She's the Sheriff, You Can't Take It With You, Out of This World, Throb, and a revival of the short-lived A
revival of the short-lived 1983 NBC series We Got It Made? Are you kidding me?
This has to be a mistake. This show was crap. There is no way they gave this show a second chance.
Son of a bitch!
Great. Now I have to talk about this, too. Yes, folks, it's true. We Got It Made somehow made a comeback roughly 3 years after it was initially canceled. This time around, airing in first-run syndication that just happened to be for a number of NBC affiliates. But while Copley and Villard came back for the revival, the rest of the cast had careers to lose and wisely declined to come back. So a brand new cast of characters were put in to replace some of the other ones. Replacing Matt McCoy's yuppie lawyer was actor John Hillner, who, as we'll find out, may have been a step down from the original. And we also get the introduction of Mickey's Neighbors, a father and son duo played by Ron Karabatsos and Lance Wilson White. I guess they added a teen to the mix because this was airing in most of the country at 7:30 p.m. and most kids were still awake at that hour. Not that many kids watched the original 1983 version to begin with, but then again, I'm not a programming executive. Unfortunately, there's next to nothing available in terms of the show's revival. Hey, I guess this means we don't have to review this part after all. Okay then, maybe now we can get to the 9 circles, please? Oh, crap. Looks like the forces of evil found one for me. Okay, why don't we compromise a little bit? I'll go over what happens in this episode as fast as I can because I really don't think I'll be adding anything new to what we've done here so far. Okay? Okay. Can I have some speed-up music, please? In this episode, Mickey's in a bad mood because an old friend is coming to visit her, and she happens to be more successful than Mickey. The boys try to reassure her that while Mickey's friend comes in via helicopter, because sitcom's got a sitcom, right?
Nobody can be that impressive. I'm impressed.
Mickey's friend tries to convince Mickey to come in for an audition for an unspecified big show in an effort to add a little spark to her life, which is the main crux of her problem. She's a little restless, being just a maid. Who doesn't hate their first job? Mickey's practicing, but has a little bit of trouble. And the best trick she has up her sleeve is a Marlon Brando impression with hilarious results.
You should have looked out for me, Charlie. I could have been somebody. I could have been a contender.
Mickey and her friend head down to the audition, which turns out not to be for any acting part, sort of, but rather a chance to become one of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, or GLOW, long before it was a Netflix series. And to the show's credit, they went to the trouble of actually bringing in a few real-life GLOW wrestlers as guest stars, including the likes of Hollywood, Vine, Debbie Debutante, Susie Spirit, and most notably, Colonel Ninochka.
In Russia, we eat buns for breakfast.
Ever try an onion bagel?
Mickey's shocked that this was the acting gig she was auditioning for, and they expected her to do a couple of moves, even though dusting is probably her best finishing move. Meanwhile, the boys show up for moral support, even though Mickey wants out. Mickey tries to show off her moves against Debbie Debutante with hilarious results. The boys then tell Mickey that she doesn't have to do this, and new Yuppie tries to convince Messy J to talk to Colonel Ninochka in an effort to pull Mickey out of the audition.
Excuse me, Miss,
Colonel Ninochka.
Well, your colonelship, I'm not...
You know,
For a Yankee pig, you're kind of cute.
Yada yada awkward, the Bridget Nielsen knockoff tries to make a move on him, more hilarious results. The new yuppie explains to Mickey that this is all an act, just as Hollywood and Vine sneak up behind him and show him otherwise.
I mean, everybody knows that it's staged. I mean, you've seen them on TV. Whenever they punch each other, it's fake. I mean, fake falls, fake hair pulling, fake gouging of eyes, fake blood.
This then quickly turns into a ripoff of yet another Three's Company episode, the one where Jack tries to be a boxer. Still more hilarious results happen when Mickey stands up for the boys and herself, and she kicks Hollywood and Vine's asses.
Say you're sorry! Forget it! Say it! I'm sorry! And you big polka! Easy! I won't hurt you if you just leave him alone, okay? Okay!
Nessie J may or may not be acting as Colonel Ninochka continues to make the moves on him.
I just remembered I forgot to tip the towel man on the way in.
Jeffy! You are one slippery herring.
Hilarious as wrestlers like what they see and they want Mickey to join and politely declines. Everyone learns a valuable lesson.
And you're going to be real good at whatever you do.
You're right.
You know, I'm impressed.
One more end tag about Ninochka putting the finishing move on Jay.
No, Ninochka! My little Puchka! I know how to keep your samovar warm!
And I told you!
Roll credits, the end. Hey there. I know it seems a little redundant to interrupt an episode that I'm re-recording for this interruption, but I wanted to add something new to this episode aside from a re-record. And for this, I actually want to give credit to a show that I've been watching on YouTube for years, and that show is called Oddity Archive. Love that show, love them to death. Pretty much any interest that I have in TV-related minutia, I have them to credit for a lot of it. And they've been around forever. I think as of this recording, they may be very close to their 300th episode. So congratulations, Ben and team. Hope you do another 300, and hopefully we get to work together someday. But I wanted to bring him up because he did an episode a couple weeks ago about NBC's Primetime at 7:30 experiment, and he actually went into a pretty detailed history on almost all the shows. He forgot to mention the sitcom Throb, which we may get to cover at some point, but I didn't hear any lightning striking. But here's the reason why I'm bringing that up, because when he mentioned the We Got It Made segment, there was a very brief blip that I saw that mentioned that since we did this episode, that another episode of the 1987 series has since come up. Now, we've already sat through 3 episodes of this show, and I'm pretty sure we're not really going to be adding or subtracting anything to it, but just in case, very, very quickly, here are the details of that that second 1987 episode, 4th show overall. I don't even know how to count anymore, but anyway, here's just a couple clips from that episode just to say that it does exist out there.
Tonight on We Got It Made, Colette and I had a wonderful idea. I want to transfer all of my money, my checking account, my savings bonds, all my financial holdings into her name.
So she is the gold digger. What are we gonna do? How about jealousy? Jay catches Colette with another man. A handsome, witty, well-dressed, sensational man.
I think I know where we can dig up one of those guys. Oh, hi, Jay. Colette and I were just getting to know one another.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
Wait, we're not ready.
And now here's what happened at the end of that episode.
Are you going to be okay?
I'll miss you.
I'll miss you too. Until we meet again, every trowel of manure will remind me of you.
So yeah, this changes absolutely nothing about our thoughts, so let's continue. In all seriousness, the revival was slightly better than the original one, but barely. Mickey still played too cutesy and innocent, Jay was still a dopey fool, and Yuppie Lawyer Man, no matter who played him, was still an uptight snob. Even the addition of glow wrestlers didn't do much to help this show in its second incarnation, as the show wound up getting dusted once and for all in 1988. And on that note, now can we fire up the 9 circles?
limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, heresy, violence, fraud, treachery.
Originality, or lack thereof, plays a factor here. For let us not lose sight of the fact that this was a show that borrowed so many elements from previously existing shows, it wouldn't surprise me if the scripts were written with a blender. The quantity of these elements are so vast that we can make an easy call for gluttony on account of the fact that the show was overloaded with hackneyed, cliched material, leaving no room for anything remotely original. And because these all too familiar elements were used, this prompted the viewers to realize that a lot of what they were even watching had been done to death on other shows. The average TV viewer, even for 1983 or 87, isn't that stupid to know the difference between the innovators and the imitators. They were watching a wolf in tightly knit sheep's clothing, thus ringing the bell for heresy. Not to mention the fact that this show was put on at a time when a similar show on another network was on its last legs, and perhaps there was the possibility of a natural successor to that show being declared. The short shelf life proved otherwise. Made was certainly no Three's Company, hard as it tried to be. The fact that viewers still flocked to watch that show in its final season only proved Made to be the false prophet, thus tagging it for fraud. And of course, if the first few seconds of the show's opening credits with Terry in the t-shirt didn't already drive the point home, the slinky nightgowns and the high-pitched schoolgirl voice would have done the same. For this show not to be hit with lust over our main character would be an impossibility. Not that that was a bad thing, mind you. I'm sure the male demographics were pretty high each week, but there's more to luring viewers than just eye candy, especially in an era where the moral majority was on the rise. We've Got It Made earns 4 out of 9 circles of Telehell. Try as it may to have been something somewhat entertaining, it also tried to do so by using a bag of tricks to get ahead instead of attempting to be entertaining on its own merits, of which it barely had any. Of course, if the show was made during the 1970s when so-called jiggle TV was in vogue, maybe it might have stood a chance. So, in that regard, perhaps the show was simply a victim of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But even so, this was supposed to be Fred Silverman's big comeback project after getting the boot from a major TV network. Having this be the result of that comeback only resulted in more skepticism from the industry that the Golden Gut lost his golden touch once and for all. But fear not, ladies and gentlemen, this story does have a happy ending. For Silverman had enough clout in the TV industry to keep trying in spite of whatever missteps he made in the past. And because of that clout, he was able to put his stamps on future TV stalwarts like Matlock, Diagnosis Murder, and the revival of Perry Mason in TV movie form. Of course, his clout had to be re-earned the hard way because the rest of the flops that he left in his wake were so downright diabolical that they have forever stained the institution of television thanks to its perennial inclusions onto lists of the worst TV shows of all time. But before we can get to those shows, I think we need to take down an appetizer first. Next time on Telehell. Okay, the script says that we celebrate Mother's Day by looking at this show, but again, the show originally aired in May of 2020, so just bear with me as I say, we celebrate Mother's Day by taking a look at what TV Guide once called
the second worst TV show of all time.
Hello, Davy.
Oh, Mother.
No, Davy, you really heard something. It's me. No, not in the back seat, Davy. Down here. But just don't sit there with your mouth hanging open. Say hello.
Hello, Mother.
Until then,
if it's not in Telehell, it's not worth a damn.
This week on But I Digress, out of all the topics that we've discussed on this show over the years, none have shown up more frequently than the shows that made up NBC's 1983-84 season. We've talked about 3 of those shows, and we will go through all 3 of them once again, plus the season itself in general. It's a look at the 1983 Be There season for as little as $3 a month at our Patreon at Telehell Podcast. Either go online or go on the Patreon app to find us. And now, here are the rest of the credits. Telehell was written, produced, edited, and narrated by me, Justin Hart. All clips used in this program are protected under the Fair Use Doctrine of the U.S. Copyright Act of 1976, and all clips used come courtesy of their respective companies and owners. Some of the music used in this program comes courtesy of YouTube and their audio library service. Telehell is a production of Horton Road and is distributed by Libsyn. You know how I feel about the term New Year, New You. That's why our places to hear the show have stayed exactly the same. Everywhere you can hear a podcast, you'll find us at Telehell Podcast. Especially listen to us on our YouTube channel, which is at Telehell. And of course, do not forget to like, comment, rate, subscribe, and give us just some semblance of feedback as to whether or not we're screwing this up or not. Everywhere you look, it's at Telehell Podcast on Facebook, on Blue Sky, on Apartheid Clyde's page. It's all at Telehell Podcast. Or if you want to contact us directly, feel free to comment either directly on the episode itself at telehell.libsyn.com or our complaint line, telehellpodcast@gmail.com. One way or another, we'll hear ya.
Don't build my world around no single man, but I'm getting back, doing what I can. I am free to be what I want to be, and all I want to be is a modern girl. Na 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 na. She's a modern girl. Na 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 na. She's a modern girl. Na 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 na. She's a modern girl. Na 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 na. She's a modern girl.
Another great show from Horton Road.